everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Along the Way podcast. My name is Lydia Kyle, and we are definitely having a change of scenery because I am at Inappropriate Trucker Hats in Prosper, Texas, and we are doing an in-person interview with my first ever sponsor, Bekah. So, here we are.
Hello.
We've got the magnificent trucker hat wall behind us. First of all, I want to tell you thank you because you don't know me like this is the first time that we've met in person. Yeah. You don't know me for Natum, and yet every time I have reached out to you about something, you have like gone above and beyond to like support what I do, and not very many people support what I do.
You say that, but the first time you reached out to me about those hats when that video went nuts, I was kicking myself because I was like, I get asked for, free stuff all the time. And you weren't asking for anything for free, but I was like, oh, I don't know. I just say no to everything. And then I was like, oh man, I really...
Oh yeah, because I think I asked you like if you would do, like if you wanted me to attach a coupon code. Like,
yeah.
I asked, because I ordered the hats. Like I bought the hats. It was for my best friend. I'll put the video in this episode.
She really started
it's
a
my
trend.
favorite.
She really started a trend. You were... If you weren't...
I love it.
You were the very first one that I saw go super viral of hat, or passing out funny hats.
Because it was my best friend's wedding, and it was her second marriage, and this is the marriage that should have happened first. I mean, like, they're so happy, they're so perfect together, but I just thought, how funny would it be if I just got everybody these inappropriate trucker hats? And some of them were more inappropriate than others.
It was good.
But everyone loved it, and the video did go super viral, and it was so funny. It's one of my favorite videos that I've done.
Well, the song is
ever.
perfect, and I can't use all these cool songs with my business page.
Right.
So I love seeing when other people do that.
That's
perfect.
one of my favorites. I do that one, like I recycle that one a lot just because it's so fun. So anyway, thank you for always supporting me, because every time I've reached out to you like, hey, do you want to be in the Christmas newsletter or whatever, you're like, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, hey, do you want to sponsor my podcast? And you're like, duh. And I was like, oh, thank God, because I felt like so weird asking.
It is hard to ask for stuff like that.
It is, and it's like, but I would rather ask a small business than try to like shill myself out to like, I don't know, some massive corporation. Like, they don't need me. Like, we can mutually benefit
for sure
each other. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. But let's start this out casually. Just tell me all your childhood trauma. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, well... What year?
No, I'm kidding. But you are the face behind Inappropriate Trucker Hats. And I feel like people, even if they're familiar with your business, you're like this mysterious figure. And you have this larger-than-life personality. But I would love to know, like, who is Bekah? And also, why do people call you Uncle Bekah?
So, the Uncle Bekah came from my nephews. I'm the only girl in my family. And my nephews, the ones that live on Tin Top Road.
Yeah.
Autry, he was the first one, and I don't remember, he was very, very young, like, I don't even think he was 2 years old yet, and he was learning people's names, and I don't know if my family says they didn't tell him to say Uncle Bekah, but he Uncle Mike, Uncle Joe, Uncle Kyler, Uncle Bekah, but I have a sister-in-law named Christy, and they always called her Aunt Christy.
It just stuck.
So it stuck, and then my friends started calling me that. And I just thought it would be, because at the time my business was called Deuce Peppers. It was just an old nickname. We don't need to get into the
got it.
reason
Understood.
I got that name.
Understood.
But I remember the first event I ever did, I was like, yeah, Deuce Peppers. And people were like, huh? But at that same event, somebody also called me Uncle Bekah. And I was like, oh, I'll make it Uncle Bekah's Hats. But on Instagram, it's all lowercase. So it looked like Uncle Bekah's Shats. And the first hat was this Who Farted hat, because it was a gag gift from my grandpa. Not this one. It's over there. But everyone's like, oh, that's so funny, Uncle Bekah's Shats. I'm like, no, it's Uncle Bekah's Hats. But then I'd also made a sign that said Inappropriate Trucker Hats sold here, just to like warn parents. Right. And then I thought, well, if I saw Inappropriate Trucker Hats on Instagram, I would click on it. And
it's actually genius marketing.
It was all organic and just on accident, kind of.
What a happy accident, because like it's actually genius marketing, because like it's become like we were just talking about this before we started recording, where it's like it's becoming a thing. Like the trucker hats are becoming a thing, but like you kind of got in on it at the ground floor, and the marketing on it, even though it happened as a happy accident, like you really cornered a really good part of the marketing.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's funny. I mean, some of the best things, like even my face logo, a friend of mine one day was just like, hey, I got inspired last night. I drew this photo of you. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's kind of what I had in mind for Deuced Peppers. But obviously we're not Deuced Peppers anymore. So I had her tweak it a little bit, and that face that's our sticker. I mean,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. What was, okay, so how did this turn into like a legit business? Because like, I think that's something that people, like, we see a business in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And only some people got to see the beginning. So like, there's people who have known you who saw the beginning. But like, how did Inappropriate Trucker Hats become a legit business? Like, what was that journey?
Well, first off, I think it's so important. Any job you have in your life or any relationship or friendship you make along the way is to be a good person, because you never know down the road when that might benefit you or you might need that person's help. So I think a lot of that kind of came into play, but I was booking music and bartending and doing all these odd jobs. I was living in Red River, New Mexico.
Okay.
And I saw a band on Instagram making hats, and I was like, I used to do that in high school with t-shirts. So I thought, well, I'll just make some funny hats, and I just set up at this random chili cook-off, and I made chili and hats, and I was like, if I could just make enough hats to cover the ingredients of the chili I'm giving away for free and my bar tab,
I love that.
it would be awesome. And so I started doing that just kind of for fun as a side gig. And then a couple years later, we moved to Texas, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was only booking music at the time, making like $1,000 a month.
Yeah. And
I needed something else, and I didn't want to get a job that I didn't want to work for somebody that I didn't like. I didn't want to do something I hated. I just came from paradise in, Carson National Forest was where my home was. So moving back to Texas for my boyfriend's job, I was like, what am I going to do? So there was this event called Gypsy Cafe in Stillwater, Oklahoma. It's a big fundraiser for musicians. So the musicians are a big part of it, obviously.
Right.
And they let me have a booth, and I just started selling hats for fun. I made like $400 that weekend, thought I was on top of the world.
Yeah.
And then I just kept doing it. So I was like, well, I can't get a real job now, because what if there's a farmer's market I can get into on a weekend at last minute? So I just started getting into every market that I could. And the big one that really set everything off was Mile Zero Fest in Key West. So I used to live in Key West, and that's kind of where I first had my first hats made at a store there.
Okay.
Just for fun. They were the Who Farted ones, just like the one I got from my grandpa. And but I found this festival. It's Texas Red Dirt Music. I was like, okay, that's my music scene, and that's my island. How do I get involved?
Right.
So I Googled, I was just searching the very first person to ever use the hashtag Mile Zero Fest. And I found the guy, and I said, hey, is this your festival? I want to be a part of it. He was like, absolutely. So I did a little bit of work for them, and when it came down to like the actual event, I said, okay, I'm not going to come and work unless you can pay me X amount of money. Otherwise, I just want to go and hang out. And they were like, well, what about we don't pay you that extra, because they owed me some money. What if we don't pay you and we just make that a trade and you sell your hats as a vendor? Okay. And I remember it was the coolest thing ever. It was like night 2 or 3, and Pat Green was headlining. Yeah. And I'm just working my butt off. Like I kind of figured out how to do my setup at Mile Zero Fest that first year. Like I ran out of blank hats. I mean, it was a hit. Yeah. And I closed up my booth. I'm so tired, and I walk out there. Pat Green's headlining, and he's on stage wearing a red, white, and blue trucker hat. And I was like, it's backwards. So I was like, man, that would be so cool if that was my hat. And it was. And
which hat was it? Wait, I gotta know which one it was.
Best ex ever. He was talking about a song he wrote for his ex-girlfriend or something, and someone threw it on stage. And it made my whole night. But so like I said, I used to book music. Yeah. So a lot of the bands were playing Mile Zero Fest. They thought it was funny. They were making hats, because I make hats on site, like custom stuff. Yes. So they were roasting each other backstage, making hats, and then they'd wear them on stage. And like all these photos back here are from Mile Zero Fest, most of them.
I love that.
So the musicians are wearing them. They're getting good photos taken. They're getting lots of clout because it's a funny photo on social media. So it kind of took off from, I really blame the music scene for it being what it is today, and just knowing these bands. And
I love that.
Yeah, it was really cool. So
I love that.
And I've done Mile Zero Fest every year since then.
And you go to a lot of like events. Like, you're out there.
I used
you're
to do
in it.
Yeah, I used to do a lot more, but since we opened the store, I'm like,
Right.
okay, I did my time. Y'all come to me now. But it's not
Right.
how it works. I realize what we're doing. Doing the festivals and parties, that's what makes it fun and unique. And
Right.
Online,
I mean, social media has to have been like,
yes.
Social media has to have been like a kind of a godsend
Yeah.
for this type of business,
Well,
because like people want to know. Like, anytime I wear one of my hats, whether it's a custom or one that I've just picked off because like you've sent me a lot of customs, but anytime I wear one, people are like, "Where'd you get that hat?" Like, I mean, I've had old men, like I've said it in another episode where my favorite hat to wear is like, "Can I fish your private pond?"
Yeah.
Because I wear it around town, and like old men will stop me and they're like, "I love your hat," and I'm like, "Do you have a private pond?" Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
I've yet to be fully invited because of that hat, but it's gonna happen.
I mean, you stopped me to talk about my hat.
Yeah.
Do you have a private
your
pond? Like, I just want to catch them back. But I think there's such a conversation starter, but the business model itself, like, I don't want to downplay what you do, so I'm not saying it in that sense, but the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
It's a trucker hat.
Yeah.
Like, it's not complicated.
Just
they're
words
funny,
on a hat.
and they're words on a hat.
Yeah. I'm not a graphic designer. I put words on a hat. I hear funny stuff, and I'm like, I need to put that on a hat.
And people can do the customs. So like one of the best gifts that I've given is you sent me the hat that said I'd rather be reading smut, and I gave that to one of my best friends who reads a lot of inappropriate literature, and she wore it on vacation. She wore it on vacation, and then she also wore it to like a library book sale.
Oh, that's amazing.
And she got like told that it was absolutely inappropriate, and she goes, "You know, that's really funny that you say that, because it's actually from Inappropriate Trucker Hats. It's almost like that's the point."
Yeah.
But like, that's a custom hat. Like, that's literally just something that I messaged you, and I was like, "Hey, I need a hat that says this," and you're like, "Okay, cool, press it on a hat." Like, it's such a genius business model. I would say the next question is, when was it the hardest? Like, when did you look at this business, or have you ever looked at this business and
Honestly,
gone, "I'm out. Like, I can't do this."
There's been a couple times that it was really rough. Like, I was like, how can I be having the best year of my life and also the worst year of my life? But honestly, I think right now is the hardest that it's been.
I was going to ask you that question.
It's so, and I know there's a lot more competition, because when we started doing this, I mean, it wasn't a trending thing. You know, I didn't start this business because trucker hats were trending. I had a funny idea.
Right.
It just kind of blossomed into this. And now that I kind of like, I want trucker hats to go out of style. I mean, I don't. But there's just so much competition nowadays. I don't know. And I think that has to do a little bit with it. I don't know. It's just, this is a slower month usually, but it's extra hard right now.
I think that, and like, we can have a really transparent conversation about this if you want to go there, but I think that everyone feels that way, even just as like people. So like, not even as, I get like, I consider myself more of like a private contractor, but I mean, I guess I am a small business owner.
Yeah.
In some ways, I'm hired to do certain labor. But like, even just looking at it, I was talking to my husband the other day, just as like average everyday people, we're making more money than we've ever made. And it feels like we're back in the place that we were when we were on government assistance, when we had our first baby. Like, I told him that, I said, Kenneth, when we got pregnant with Evelyn, you were making $300 a week. And like, we were making it, but like, we couldn't make it. Like, you know, we were in California, so like, we got WIC, and because that's what we needed to be able to make it. You were making $300 a week. We're not in a position right now where I'm going to go and get government assistance, but it's that same anxiety. And it's like, we're making more money than we have ever made. He has his leather business, which is like, as a part-time gig, like, it's thriving. I have my stuff, like, it's crazy what's available for me to make. Some months are better than others. This is usually my slow month. And I was thinking about it. It's like, this just isn't right. Like, the math is not mathing right now. Like, this does not make sense. So I think it's just this really weird, like, we're living in this timeline right now where it's like, it's just literally hard.
Yeah.
It's just literally hard.
Well, and our wholesale was taking off. This is the first year we really leaned into wholesale, like selling our hats in other stores, and they're all hurting. So that's almost completely halted right now too. And they're not buying stuff because they're not selling stuff either. I don't know. And I don't. Everyone says, it's the election year. And the last election year, I was the only employee, and I had a shared space. So my expenses were so much lower than we have 3 spaces now. I have 2 full-time employees and a few part-time employees. So, I don't know. I mean, some days I'm like, okay, did I just run my course? But I don't believe that I did.
No, I don't think
I have a lot of other ideas that we're going to lean on to. I try to always just pivot when I need to. But yeah, right now is rough.
I think that if it gives you any type of assurance, it's not just you. And I do think that this is one of those waves that we all have to ride.
Yeah.
And not to get super cliche, it's not like I'm a business expert, but it's just a fact that recessions make millionaires, more millionaires than any other time. Like, if you're in a time of economic boom, there's not people who are making those types of moves. When you're in a recession, that's when businesses like this are the ones that really take hold. So, like, you mentioned all of the competition. You're an established business. A lot of that competition, it's going to be a flash in the pan. I don't want to say that, like, if you're someone who is a small business owner, please don't take offense to that. I'm not saying that every small business that started and has a similar business model is going to be a failure. I just, like, what you've built feels very different.
Yeah.
It feels very different. Was it hard to scale? Like, that's what feels very scary to me as a bit, like, I don't know, I still hesitate to call myself a business owner, but I'm getting better about it. Yeah. I'm a business owner. I'm a big girl. Scaling feels very hard to me.
It is.
Yeah.
And, I tried to scale I had an angel investor that was helping me a couple years ago. Well, it started a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I got screwed over real bad. Like, I've made 3 business ventures off on my own without asking, hey, Dad, do you think this is a good idea? Or asking, I'm like, I want to do this on my own.
Right.
And all 3 of them, all 3 business partnerships I have made, I got screwed over. So I need to maybe stop trusting people so much, because I do realize not everybody has your best interest in mind.
That's a hard thing to come to terms with.
So, like, right now I'm kind of in the middle of we just had to buy out this guy. He wasn't ever, I'm the sole owner of my business, but I had somebody helping me buy all the hats with my logo in them. That's a whole nother thing. That's the part that was hard. It was like, how do you set yourself apart with words on hats? I think keeping them just basic like this is what keeps them.
Right.
That's just what we do. We don't do funky creative stuff. We do funny stuff on hats.
Yeah.
But trying to get my logo on the tags, that's a whole nother thing. And, scaling is hard. And when I got the spaces, I just kind of grew this organically. Like, this was too small, but this was our original space.
Yeah.
Then we knocked out the wall and took that space. Then the 3rd one came available, and I was like, well, I got a bunch of hats coming in. I might as well take it and fill it up. Scaling is hard, but I do believe, like, if you build it, they will come.
I agree with that as well.
Sometimes. I don't know if that's always the thing, but I just, when I see people come in here, it's so reassuring when people come in for the first time, or they found us on social media and came in for the first time. And we have a really cool thing, and I just have to keep reminding myself that, and it's not getting bitter or tied up on watching other businesses that are ripping us off. It's every
because
good
you
thing.
Can't trademark all of this. Like, even I talk about it drives me nuts. So I'm friends with Adrienne Brannon. She's like a kind of like Buckaroo
Make
Girl.
America Country Again.
Make America Cowboy
Again. That's right.
So she trademarked that early. So Make America Cowboy Again is a trademark by Adrienne. She did the right thing. She jumped through every single hoop to make sure that was trademarked and it was protected. And when I tell you, it makes me violently mad when I see someone ripping that off, because it's like, Adrienne did the right thing. She had one saying. Like, you've
Yes.
got hundreds. So it's like, she had one saying. She did the right thing. She copyrighted it, and it still gets ripped off daily. And I remember I was talking to her one time. I sent it to her, and I said, you know, just so you know, this boutique is doing it. And she goes, I know. I already saw it. I can't look anymore.
That's how I
because
feel.
I can't look anymore because I can't chase all of them down. At the end of the day, I copyrighted it. I did the right thing. It's mine until, you know, whenever, but I can't look anymore.
Well, it's funny you brought that up, because I had a boutique a few years ago ask me to make that on a hat. And I had never seen it. So I made them for the boutique. I wasn't selling them. And she messaged me so politely and was just like, hey,
Adrienne did.
Yes,
Adrienne did.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was mad at that boutique. I was like, hey guys, I mean, I know you obviously saw this somewhere. That's not how we do business.
Yep.
So I made, and some people were being nasty to me, which I understand where they were angry, because I feel the same way. So then I made a post
you're
about
the
her.
wholesaler.
Yeah,
like,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I love her. I love how she approached me back. Actually, she encouraged me in a way whenever
she's the
have
most
to
encouraging human being. Adrienne is so encouraging that a lot of people, I think, can't believe that she's actually like that. She's actually like that. So I remember, we're not going to get into this, but Adrienne and I have this really convoluted history with each other that goes back to like when I was 15 and she was 16. It's this really very convoluted history, and we share some very, very intimate trauma. And in the beginning, we hated each other because of that trauma. And I remember thinking about her, there's no way that a human being is that genuine and that encouraging. It's fake. Like, she can't be real. That's fake. And then I actually got to know Adrienne once her and I went on our different journeys and we reconnected. And it's like, oh my God, you actually are. You actually are like this starlight of a human being. Like, that's just how she is. I don't think I've ever met anybody like that before. She's just genuinely
I haven't met
like
her
that.
in real life. We just had the interaction on Instagram.
But no, it's interesting that you felt that from her, because like I think about that sometimes, where it's like, she's very hermitish, so she'll like go off social media for like a year and then she'll just suddenly pop up, and I'm like, dang, how do you do that? And it's like, no, that's just how she's built. Like that's just literally how she's built. But anyway, I digress. We got off on a rabbit on that one, but
it's okay.
I love chasing a good rabbit.
Yeah.
But the scaling is definitely hard. What's like to you the shining moment of your business? Like what was the moment where like no negativity could take that from you?
Well, there's been quite a few. I mean, honestly,
most recently. How about
I feel
that?
so blessed.
Most recent.
But yeah, I will say probably the top dog is I've been a Marcus King Band fan for so long.
Yeah.
And his wife reached out to me a couple years ago, last year, maybe, whenever it was. And she was like, hey, well, actually, he started following me on Instagram at one point. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool.
I've made it.
And I didn't know that he was a funny dude. I just liked his music. I didn't know anything about him. Didn't know anything about his wife. She reached out to me and asked if I could make hats for their wedding. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to get invited to it? Can I make hats at this wedding? Didn't get to go to the wedding. But they ordered 300 hats.
Oh my gosh.
And handed them out at the reception. And she mentioned me in People Magazine, so I got a shout out in People Magazine, like Daily Mail, a bunch of different articles. But
that's
the main
amazing. I didn't even know about this.
And I remember that day I got on my website, and you can see where everybody is looking
traffic,
and it was all over the world. And I mean, I think at one point there was which this is maybe not a lot to some people, but for me personally, at one point there was 400 people looking at my website at the same time from all over the world, and it was just the coolest thing.
That's amazing.
Ever. It didn't generate into a ton of sales right away, but they all know who I am, or they knew about us after that. And
that's amazing. Well, I think that's the genius of the business model. I guess, I'm not very techie when it comes to someone who's techie can drop this in the comments so I can learn something. But I almost grabbed the hat over there that says dumb and cheap.
Cheap and dumb.
Or Cheap and Dumb. But yeah, that I probably should have grabbed that one. So if you know what I'm talking about and you know what it's called, drop it in the comments. But like the SEO, just the simple fact that your name is Inappropriate Trucker Hats, yes. That's the thing that's going to carry your business. Yes. It's just the simple fact of you nailed that. Yeah. Because you made it not about you. I think that's
well, I feel like it's still a lot about me. I feel
it's like sometimes I'm like,
is that an accident? Should I not have done that? Because now people expect this. But yeah,
to me, it's like you're this I don't know, mystical figure behind the business.
Well, also, how long have you been following my page?
Probably 3 or 4 years.
Oh, okay. So
probably 3 or 4 years.
I feel like in the beginning, it wasn't that long ago. I still, party on my Instagram here and there, but I used to do it a lot. I used to get on there, and I'm humiliated by some of the stuff that I used to post. But I don't know how to be anything but organic and raw, and this is who I am.
Right.
And so part of me leans into, okay, are people buying the hats because they're funny, or are they buying them because they like me and my business? And I think it's a little bit of both.
I think online, probably I would say online, it's probably the hats. But when I see the videos of you at the festivals and stuff, yeah, it's you.
I definitely feel like we do bring something to every event that we do.
And that's obvious even through social media.
I'm like, all I want to do is make it more fun than it would have been without me. That's the whole point of it, is why can't it be more fun than I think it's I would say it's a good 50-50 mix. Social media itself, people, well, when I made the video for the wedding, people in the comments, they were just we need to do this, this, where did you get the hats, where did you get the hats, but then there's also that added layer of the fact that no offense to the boutique girls, I don't want to offend everybody, but a boutique-y girl can't sell me a hat that says, I'd rather be reading smut. It fits. They go together. It wouldn't work if some straight-laced Wall Street billionaire was trying to sell me an Inappropriate Trucker hat. No, I feel we kind of set the tone.
Yeah, I need Bekah to sell me the Inappropriate Trucker hat.
I like that.
It doesn't work if, it just doesn't work. And also I would say that it doesn't, your style lends itself to your style lends itself to so many different people. I don't party. I don't I got 3 kids at home. We're doing this at 8:30 at night because that's when I could come here to get away from my 3 children. We live very different lives, but we both have a sense of humor.
Yes, that's what it is. It's
a sense of humor.
Some people well, I don't want anything inappropriate. I'm I have so many hats that are PG. They're not all super inappropriate. I have some. I'm like, just look around. If you look too hard, you're gonna find one that you can't live without.
I have said this on every episode. So this one's probably gonna air around Thanksgiving time. So there's 8 episodes before this, and if you listen to the one that came out today, you'll hear it where I talk about the sponsor and I drop the code and all of this stuff. But I say multiple times on several different episodes where I'm I really want Bekah to start doing them, have a section on the website where they're rated like movies. So a G-rated section.
That's really funny that you
said that. To an MA section, because all of mine are very G-rated or PG-rated.
No,
just because I have kids and I got I got to keep it kosher.
So we just made the Bring Back Blockbuster hat, and I was thinking the other day, I was like, okay, well, we have this boutique that just moved into our storage space. So we had to rearrange a lot of stuff, and I was like, our hats are the main thing. How can we display more hats in here? But I was thinking, when you go to Blockbuster, there's just rows of DVDs,
the family movies,
the family section. I was like, I want to do that in the store.
And then the dirty
family
section corner. Yes. We're all yep. I say that multiple times on the podcast.
It's been an ongoing
even if you
thing.
don't let the name Inappropriate deter you, because every single one of mine is I could wear them anywhere, and they're very bullies ain't shit, maybe not, but it's got a very deep-seated place in my heart. But like they're rated, they need to be rated like movies.
Yeah.
Like, so there's a section for the people to go get the G-rated hats.
Hats for your grandpa.
Or the MA-rated hats.
Family friendly. Yeah, I agree.
Family friendly hats. Yeah. Like, maybe that's your next business.
Well,
family friendly trucker hats.
One of my friends said they were going to start a business called Appropriate Trucker Hats. And it was going to be like, I love my mom and happily married and stuff, which I think is hilarious. I should probably
that should just be a subsection of the website.
Appropriate
Trucker Hats.
Idea.
That's funny. I'm giving. Yep, that's what needs to happen. Is you'll have the inappropriate and then the appropriate, and then people can just decide as is.
Yeah.
I love that.
Just
What's your favorite hat that you've made?
Ooh,
like the one you'll never forget, because you make thousands of them.
Yeah.
Like, what's
I would say
one?
the ones I wear the most. I love Pillar of the Community. I was gonna wear that today. Obviously, Who Farted? I have that tattooed on my feet because it's it was sentimental.
Of course you do.
And Mostly Drug Free is one of my favorites. Some of the other ones I probably can't mention, but those are Pillar of the Community. I love that hat, and I like to wear it because I just want people to think that I think I am a Pillar of the Community.
That's a good one.
I thought about starting a Pillar of the Month club.
I had someone come into my DMs and accost me over one of the customs that you made me that said reading banned books is constitutional.
Oh, yeah?
And they're like, what exactly are you trying to...
Oh, yeah.
I hope she's still following me on social media. I'm so sorry if I offended you, but I was in a bad mood when you messaged me. So I wore the hat, and she sent it. So the hat says... I don't think I've worn it in an episode yet. So the hat says that reading banned books is constitutional. And she sends a message and she says, what exactly are you trying to communicate with that hat? And so I had this discussion with her, and she was heated over it. And it's like, it's a hat and it's funny. Like, that's like, calm down.
That's one reason why I don't do anything. I don't do any political hats. I mean, if I do one that might, from, like, I did some that were funny from the debates. There's some things I heard that were funny.
Well, yes.
But I've never once put out a hat. It's like, this is who I'm voting for.
Right.
And it's mostly because I don't want to have those conversations with people. People get so sensitive and butthurt about it, and I don't want to deal with either side. We're not trying to piss people off. We're just trying to make people laugh and spread joy and roast your friends. I mean, there's ways to be funny that's not... I don't know, super crude. I mean, it sounds weird that I'm saying that, and I sell inappropriate trucker hats, but...
No, I think it's true, because I think that's wise of you, because, like, even that one, that person approached me, and they were concerned because they thought that I meant that, like, children should have access to explicit content. And I was like, okay,
gotcha. Yeah.
Not what I meant, but okay, I'm willing to have this discussion with you. But I think you're very wise to not open that door, because if you were pumping out Trump or Harris or Kennedy hats left and right, you would be opening the door to, like you said, discussions that are unnecessary.
And I considered it,
and they're irrelevant.
Sales are so bad right now. I was like, do we just do political hats for the next month or two? But no, I can't even bring myself to do it. We don't do any.
You'd have to do all of them.
Yeah. We don't do any celebrity likeness or anything like that. Also, I mean, there's just lots of. I mean, people copyright their names and trademark all that stuff.
Yes.
And I don't want to have, and like even boutiques that I am friends with, they sell. I think one of the biggest ones that people have gotten in trouble for is there's somebody or lots of people that put like Morgan Wallen on shirts and all these country musicians, and they Morgan Wallen's people are very, very good about finding you and giving you a cease and desist. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. Or song lyrics or another one.
Yes.
Like, I think if you really like an artist, why would you go to someone else that's not that artist and have them use their art on hat? Like, I'm not going to do it. And I am so tied in with the music scene that it's a hard no for me. And I think that's why the musicians do respect me as much as they do, because they know I'm
I think it's
out there
just
to
about
rip them off.
it's just about the humor. Like, it's just about whether you're roasting a family member or you're taking them to a wedding or whatever. Like, it's just about that. It's not deeper than that.
No.
Like, it's not
that deep.
It's
I
not
always
that
say
deep.
that. I'm like, I don't know.
It's not that deep.
No.
Like, that's what I wanted to say when I was having the conversation with the lady about the banned books. It's like, it's not that deep. Like, I'm sorry you thought it was, but it's not that deep.
If I find it funny, I'm probably going to put it on a hat, you know?
What's the funniest one? Like, do you have any that stick out to you that have been customs?
If they stuck out and they were great, they are on my website now.
I love that.
So if somebody gives me a custom idea and I know that it's organic.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you this hat for free because I want to put it on my website. So
oh, I love that.
The first one I ever did a competition with, I just did I was like, hey, I need a new hat idea. What do y'all got? And Great Girl Huge Bush was born. And it's one of my favorites. What are some other, I mean, there's quite a few. I mean, people send me ideas literally every single day. If they blow me up, I'm like, hey, listen, put these in your notes. Send them to me when you get 20, because the notes list.
You could pay it like 5 cents an idea.
Like
kids who are collecting cans.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Put it in your notes and send it to me, and I'll give you 5 cents for every good idea.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I have my list. I have thousands. I have been making this list since I started this business. I just had a notes list. I put it in there if I hear something funny or think of something funny. And so if someone sends me a good idea, I may not make it right away, but I'll put it in my notes. Because we have over 600 on the website right now.
There's so many. Like, I was looking, like, when I was looking for a hat to put on, there's so many where, like, I feel like I'm very familiar with your website just because, like, I've ordered hats randomly. Like, I have a ton of your hats, which is also, I will say, a testament to your prices. Because, like, if your hats were not priced appropriately, no pun intended, I wouldn't have as many as I do.
Yeah.
Like, your hats, anytime I'm like, I want a new hat, I can just go buy one. And I don't feel like I'm compromising somewhere else. But I feel like I'm pretty familiar with your website, and there were so many of these that I feel like I had never
Well, and I feel like, I'm like, oh, everybody knows all these. What am I going to post today? But I'll post one, or I'll share one on my story, and so many people that have followed me for years are like, oh my God, that's a good one. I didn't even know you sold that. Well, shoot. So, yeah, I have to keep reminding myself, like, not everybody knows every single hat we sell. And, you know, one might resonate so well with a couple people. One might resonate with a ton of people. You never know.
I think I think you should add it, the one that I had you made that says Weird Homeschool Mom.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I should definitely do that.
Weird Homeschool Mom.
I know a ton of them.
Good. And I'll share it too, because it's I mean, well, and it's like an identity now, because so many people are homeschooling that it's like, I was one of those people that said I would absolutely never ever homeschool my kids, and now I'm homeschooling my kids, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm one of those weird homeschool moms now.
I love it.
And I love wearing that hat.
Maybe I should also make one that says cool homeschool mom.
Yeah, cool homeschool mom. Like, I think you could tap into that homeschool pipeline for sure. For sure.
Public school dropout or
public school dropout. That's funny. Kids hats.
Yeah.
Kids trucker hats that say public school dropout.
Oh, that's
I'm gonna do that
one tomorrow.
That's a good one. Kids hats. I'll buy them for my kids, because that's funny. Okay, well, we came up with like 4 right there in the span of 30 seconds. So I can't imagine what the notes on your phone looks like. Okay. How can people best support your business if they can't afford to buy a hat right now?
If you see a funny hat that you think is funny, or a hat you think is funny, just share it. I mean, social media is so huge, and just the sharing, I mean, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. You never know who's going to see it and who's going to resonate with it. But I mean, I didn't build my business with money. I built it organically in social media and people sharing and talking about it. Word of mouth has been top tier for me.
I love that.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I just love it when people find us because somebody told them about us, not because they saw, I don't know, some random Facebook ad I tried to make, because I don't know how to do that very well. But
I think that's the beauty of
word of mouth. Yeah, word of mouth is great. I mean, our product photos, they're not great, but the hat's going to look better than the product photos. I always try to tell people that. Usually it's the other way around. Yeah. We're the opposite. And sharing.
I had someone come up to me and they were like, just like the organicness of it, organicality, whatever the word is.
Yeah.
Someone who I'm like loosely connected with, we went on like I don't know if it was like a date night or a concert, or I don't know what it was. Anyway, someone that I don't spend a lot of time with, and I was wearing one of your hats, and she goes, is that from Inappropriate Trucker Hats? And I said, yeah, I love Inappropriate Trucker Hats. And she goes, we just saw their booth at, I think it was like Texas Motor Speedway.
Oh, yeah.
And this was like a year ago. And she's like, we just saw their hat. We bought like 5 hats. And I'm like, good. I'm glad you did. But I think that's like, people recognize them, Bekah.
Yes.
Like, I hope you know that. Like,
I do. It still blows my mind.
You.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
It's wild.
That's amazing. You should be very proud of that.
Thank you.
You're recognizable.
I am very proud of it.
Good. I'm glad. I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
I'm proud of you. All right. Well, thank you for being a guest on the podcast. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. As always, hit the subscribe button.
Thank you.
Hit the likes. Hit the shares. Go follow Inappropriate Trucker Hats if you're not already. Although, I mean, this is like episode 9 of this season. If you're not following Inappropriate Trucker Hats, why not?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I've been waiting for you.
Yeah, she's waiting for you. Like, what are you doing? But also, in the description of this episode is a discount code for 25% off your first order. Actually, I mean, you could technically use it on as many orders as you want.
I don't do that for a lot of people.
No, I think mine is one of the only.
I probably should do that more often with people.
No, I kind of feel special.
This
don't
girl,
do it.
she wouldn't leave me alone.
I kind of feel special. Don't take that away from me. There's very few feathers that I can put in my cap. Don't take that away from me. But there is a discount code in the description of this episode. You can use that. I'll have the direct link to Inappropriate Trucker Hats, and you can look at everything on the wall.
And just so you know, we don't just sell trucker hats. If you go to our website, we
the
have
whole store is
so
full.
many different gifts, just silly gifts that you don't need but you want. If you could literally find something for your entire family. Stocking stuffers. We always load up on stuff for the holidays, so just keep checking it. I'm not good at posting when I get new stuff in. I just put it on the website and hope people find it. So check it out.
Definitely check it out. And if you share this episode, be sure to tag me, but also tag Inappropriate Trucker Hats so that Bekah can see what you guys are saying about it.
Yes.
Thanks, you guys, for tuning in to another episode of the Along the Way podcast. I will see you back next week. We did it.
Fuck yeah. I try not to cuss as much as I usually do. I think I did a pretty good job.
I'm going to put that in as a blooper.